Tonight, a family separated for years back together again.
It was the best moment that I ever lived in my whole life.
Fear and anxiety vanishes for a Palestinian refugee now living in Hamilton as her family comes to Canada from Gaza. Plus,
my first reaction was I was horrified. I was disgusted.
parents demand action as a Toronto teacher lands himself in hot water for going to school in blackface. And
Who are you? What's line say?
break out the candy. Costumed kids hit the streets as Halloween celebrations are back on after a year off due to COVID-19 in parts of Ontario.
This is CBC Late Night News.
I'm Chris Hensing. Thanks for watching. A Palestinian refugee living in Hamilton has been reunited with her family after 3 years apart. Her family is the latest of 10 to receive temporary residence permits. Now, this is after the Israeli airstrikes in Gaza earlier this year. And as CBC's Dale Manukduk reports, the family reunion marks joy, but there's challenges to come.
Oh, here they are. Yay!
This is the moment Amal Batrawi was reunited with her husband and 2 daughters at Pearson Airport yesterday. In June, she told CBC News that she couldn't sleep and was always worried about them trapped in war-ravaged Gaza.
I will not give up. I will try.
That determination paid off, and today you can't wipe the smile off of her face.
It was the best moment that I ever lived in my whole life.
She hadn't seen them in person since moving to Hamilton with just her son, who's now 5 years old. 3 years later, she had to do a double take.
I look again and say, oh my God, this is my daughter. So I drop my phone, I drop everything and go run to them and hug them.
Now that they're together, they'll face a whole new set of challenges, like schooling and integrating into Canada. It's something that Abdallah Al-Hamadni knows well. He was reunited with his family in August. After living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Brampton for a month, they're now planting roots in Toronto, where he can watch his 3 boys grow up.
Now they are safe, and I enjoy life in Canada, enjoy the services, they get settled in the school. I feel like blessed.
But there have been challenges, like affordability, high gas and rent, 5 mouths to feed on 1 income. His wife is dealing with depression because she can't access English lessons or a work permit. His sons are thriving now after some of their own initial depression.
Like now I get used to it, so it's getting fun and interesting. It's another culture. It's interesting to discover the culture.
The families are 2 of 10 that the Rural Refugee Rights Network has helped to reunite. There are still 4 more families they are hoping for the same result. 2 are in Egypt waiting for a decision, and the others are in Alberta. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
A high school teacher is now on a home assignment. The Toronto District School Board saying he wore blackface makeup to school for Halloween. Parents and students at the school say that they're disgusted, wanting the board to take more action.
I was, absolutely just chilled, to the bone that this could, in this day and age, happen. There's no excuse, and it makes all of us unsafe in our community.
Gorian Sirlon teaches at Parkdale Collegiate Institute. He put on blackface as part of a Halloween costume that he wore to school on Friday. Layla Sarangi drafted a petition to help students report incidents like this. The school's principal told staff, students, and parents in a letter that this was an act of racism and called it dehumanizing. A woman is dead after an assault at a home in North York. Police say that the woman is 67-year-old Vincenza Galaro. A 43-year-old man has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Officers responded to a call in the area of Shepherd and Jane, finding Galaro inside of a home suffering from life-threatening injuries. She died on scene. Toronto police say the victim of a shooting in Scarborough early Friday morning is 54-year-old Douglas Devlin. It happened near Kennedy and Eglinton. Police say Devlin was shot on the sidewalk. He then made his way towards a gas station with his dog by his side. Devlin was brought to hospital where he died. His dog is being cared for by the city's animal services. Police are asking anyone with information or dash cam footage to come forward. At the G20 summit in Rome today, U.S. President Joe Biden addressed the supply chain crunch affecting businesses and customers across the globe. Biden is promising to help work out the kinks and speed up the process, but experts warn it may be too late to salvage this holiday season. Magda Gebrselassie reports.
I could put air in this one right now.
Feeling the pressure at this bike shop, owner Cameron Adcox has his hands full dealing with a supply chain crunch.
We have some bikes here that have been sitting here 2-3 weeks right now, waiting on parts. If you want to come in and order a bike, those are pushing 2 years out right now.
It's a chain reaction of problems across various industries, set off by the pandemic.
We've seen delays and backlogs of goods from automobiles to electronics.
President Biden addressed this at the Summit on Global Supply Chain Resilience today. He promised to spend more money on cutting red tape and getting ships in and out of the ports faster. And he urged world leaders to work together.
Our supply chain should be, one, diversified, so that we're not dependent on any one single source that might cause a failure.
This just as demand continues to skyrocket. The holiday shopping season will set new records, says the National Retail Federation, predicting it could reach nearly $860 billion.
There isn't enough stuff in the pipe to feed all the demand that's happening. So every port is congested, every container is in the wrong place.
And that's just the beginning, says this expert on global supply chain management.
We don't have enough labor, we don't have enough chassis, we don't have enough equipment.
Dr. Nick Vaya says it could take a year to fix the short-term issues. As for the long-term solutions,
we'd have to think about shorter supply chain, regional, somewhat close to the customer. So they're much more agile, much more resilient.
He says that could take years, but it might do the trick to keep businesses on track for the long haul. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Washington.
Here in Ontario, the number of new daily COVID-19 cases have dropped for the third straight day. The province is reporting just 340 new infections today. That's a decrease of 16 cases from Saturday. The majority of new infections, they're in people who are not fully vaccinated or their vaccine status is unknown. Ontario's 7-day average of cases has also fallen to 349. 2 more people have died from the virus. You can chuck those costumes in the closet. You're going to want to bring out the big jackets instead. Victoria Fenn Alvarado with a cool forecast tonight.
Hi there, thanks for having me here tonight. Taking a look at your short range forecast for Toronto, feeling like 0 through the overnight. And as we head into November 1st, that is your Monday, 5 degrees, feeling like 1. So yes, it is time to take out that winter apparel, the warmer clothes. We do have some lake effect, which is going to trigger some precipitation and some unsettled conditions, more so north of the GTA. I'll get to that more in your long range forecast later on in the newscast. But as we take a look at how much rain could be seen through Barrie and Parry Sound, 10 to 20 millimeters is possible there. And as we take a look at that snow accumulation amount, we could be seeing some snow in Timmins and Sault Ste. Marie. Just a dusting, however, 2 to 3 centimeters is possible there. It just gets so cold in the overnight that it just has to trigger that snow. And as we take a look at your temperatures, Toronto 10 degrees for your Monday. That actually is seasonal, but remember, with the winds getting fairly gusty, upwards of 40 kilometers an hour, that's when it gets even cooler. It could feel more like 7 degrees in Toronto, 4 in Kincardine. I'll be back with your long range forecast very shortly. Stay tuned.
Alec Baldwin has spoken on camera for the first time since that deadly shooting incident on a film set.
She was my friend. She was my friend. The day I arrived in Santa Fe to start shooting, I took her to dinner with Joel, the director. We were a very, well-oiled crew shooting a film together, and then this horrible event happened.
Baldwin says he supports tightening safety measures on movie sets. He describes the shooting as a 1 in a trillion event. Cinematographer Helena Hutchins was shot and killed by a prop firearm held by the actor. Director Joel Souza was also injured. Investigators say it's too soon to determine if charges will be filed. This past week, the Chicago Blackhawks and the NHL were besieged by fallout from allegations of sexual misconduct. This coming week, that fallout could increase. The CBC's Talia Ricci has the story.
As the hockey world grapples with the Kyle Beach story, calls for accountability are growing louder, and this week could see more action.
As a victim of abuse myself, I always would go back and say, you know, at that point, the damage to that victim is already done. So we need to focus far more upstream on prevention and making sure that this doesn't happen in the future.
Beach will reportedly meet with Chicago team officials on Tuesday to discuss his allegations of sexual assault by former video coach Brad Aldrich during Chicago's 2010 Stanley Cup run.
I know how much this has traumatized his life, but on the other hand, I'm glad to see the truth come out.
Beach sued the Blackhawks organization earlier this year, but the team is trying to get that suit dismissed in favor of a settlement.
While they've admitted that it happened now, they're still trying to deny him his day in court.
The NHL Players Association's executive board is scheduled to meet Monday, and all eyes are on executive director Donald Fehr. There's much speculation over whether he'll be removed after last week's report revealed he was aware of allegations against Brad Aldrich.
This needs to be addressed immediately, and it needs to be addressed decisively. Otherwise, it does not look good, and it could impact the league's business prospects in the future.
While this is certainly not over for Beach, he is grateful for the growing support, including from former teammate Brent Sopel, who called him a hero.
Because not only did he come out for himself, he came out for every victim.
What I think we need to be ready for is that athletes like Kyle, truly strong, courageous people, will feel more comfortable now coming forward to report abuse.
Beach hopes his battle will inspire change that will protect others.
Hopefully send a message to everybody out there that you're not alone and that you do have power and people will believe you.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Halloween night saw at least 10 people injured in Tokyo in a knife attack on a transit train. Now, the train was headed for a station that's described as the busiest in the world. Witnesses say the attacker was dressed in a Batman Joker costume. They say he also started a fire, that there was a small explosion as well. One victim was reported in critical condition. A suspect is in custody. The 26th UN Climate Conference opened in Glasgow today with the sense of urgency for action greater than ever.
The IPCC report in August was a wake-up call for all of us. It made clear that the lights are flashing red on the climate dashboard.
But as the future of humanity and nature herself are at stake, it is surely time to set aside our differences and grasp this unique opportunity.
Prince Charles was speaking at the end of this weekend's G20 conference, a conference critics say has left the Glasgow negotiations a formidable agenda. G20 leaders were focused on climate change, but their closing communique, it only urged action without committing to any plans. Critics were also dismayed that no specific reference was made to 2050. That's the year researchers call a crucial deadline for net carbon emissions to reach zero. World leaders are heading to Glasgow, Scotland this week for COP26. That's the annual United Nations Climate Change Conference. Prime ministers and presidents contemplating what's next. Alongside them, a UN human rights champion who's also a student at the University of Toronto. Kekasha Basu runs a foundation to reduce education inequality. It's something that she started when she was just 12 years old. She joins us now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What are you going to be doing at this climate change conference?
Well, as a grassroots crusader, I will try to bring the voices of those who work at the ground level to the conference and ensure that the lived experiences of those experiencing climate change firsthand are taken into account by policymakers, and then those policies are implemented to benefit those impacted most.
And how did you become involved with this conference?
Well, this is going to be my fourth climate change conference, and as a UN-accredited organization, Green Hope Foundation is definitely, making sure that we're able to bring those voices from the ground level over there. But it's just making sure that, it's the voice of young people and the voice of those with lived experiences are heard at this conference.
The voices that you're bringing to the table here, what are they saying? What are they telling you to tell people on that stage?
Well, for starters, it's all about making sure that climate change is really seen as not just from the planetary lens, but also the human lens. And that means like ensuring that the intersections of climate change with poverty, with increasing gender inequalities, racial inequalities, health inequalities are addressed, and really recognizing climate change as an inequality multiplier. So when we discuss climate actions, it should be all about climate justice and making sure that those who are the farthest first are able to benefit from policies and actions.
And when we think about recognizing those voices, there was a photo of you recently displayed on St. Andrew's Cathedral in Glasgow. It's celebrating those who are taking climate action. What's that feel like for you?
I think it's a wonderful recognition, and I hope that it inspires other young people and just people in general to, step out of their comfort zones and act towards climate justice.
Now, your Green Hope Foundation, you started that when you were 12. What's it focused on right now?
Well, Green Hope Foundation uses education for sustainable development to engage children, young people, women, people from marginalized communities, as well as in urban environments to really be empowered to take actions in their own zones of influence. And our work focuses on addressing those intersections of climate change and gender and trying to alleviate poverty by addressing the impacts of climate change-induced disasters. So we work across 25 countries. Our work is very different all across the globe, but the main tool that we use is education and education for sustainable development.
Now, with the education process there, we know you're involved with the University of Toronto. You're also nominated for a $100,000 Global Student Prize. There are 3,500 applicants from 94 countries. Winners, they get announced later this month. That's during a virtual ceremony at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris. What can you tell us about that?
Well, this is an award that's instituted by Sheg.org and the Barkey Foundation, and I think it's a wonderful way just to recognize the power that students have and just giving us the respect and recognition for the work that we do. So yeah, it's just really putting the voices of students at the international arena, and I think it's just a really wonderful way to recognize students and their power that they have to change the world.
We certainly wish you good luck with that. Thanks for joining us, Keksha.
Thank you very much.
Relief could be coming for public park users. Toronto City Council is considering opening more park washrooms for public use this winter. City Councillor James Pasternak says access to washrooms is a big barrier to outdoor enjoyment.
There's more and more need to make sure there's adequate parkland nearby so that people can get out, they can get exercise, they can have leisure activities.
Last year, the city increased the number of parks serviced in order to meet demand, a lockdown driving more people to outdoor spaces. This year, city staff want to add an additional 40 parks and 5 washrooms to the winter program. Council is set to make a decision on the expanded program on November 9th. As we head to break here, a live look at Ottawa on this Halloween night. Trick-or-treating is over across the province in most places, unless you're sticking out late. It is 10 degrees in the capital right now. Your Monday weather forecast is coming up after the break. Remember in Ontario tonight, for millions of kids last year, trick-or-treating just wasn't an option. COVID was running rampant in hotspot zones such as Toronto, the Peel region, and Windsor. But this year, the celebrations, they're back on. Our cameras were out in one Toronto neighborhood where kids and parents, plus their pooches, were pretty excited.
Scary people only on Glendale.
Once a year the full moon blooms, children dress in costumes.
Jack-o'-lanterns come alive and sing this ghoulish tune.
Happy Halloween! Rise from their tombs.
The night will hunt for candy to consume.
Little kiddies, all beware of fearsome frights and sneaky scares.
I'm gonna get some more candy. Come on.
I'm the Scarecrow. And who are you?
Sweet surprise.
Creepy, crawly, slime and goo, werewolves howl and zombies drool. Something's waiting in the dark to jump out and yell boo. Monsters roaming everywhere, tag along if you dare. You will have a night of frights and fun beyond compare. Once a year the full moon blooms, children dress in costumes. Jack-o'-lanterns come alive and sing this ghoulish tune. Witches fly upon their brooms, spirits rise from their tombs. Creatures of the night will hunt for candy to consume.
What planet are you from?
Saturn. Why, I love this time of year.
Halloween's usually a little spooky, but clearly we went for adorable there. Great night for trick-or-treaters in Toronto. Dry for the door knocking, but it's going to cool down. There's an Arctic chill on our front porch. The Weather Network's Victoria Fenn Alvarado explains.
We're taking a look now at your long-range forecast. In the short range, I talked about the lake effect. So we're going to get into a little bit of a science lesson here. That Arctic air pushing into southern Ontario is going to make for some precipitation. Now, how that happens is the cold wind on top of the waters of the warm Great Lakes causes this precipitation. So if you are in areas around a lake, you could be seeing some isolated showers for your Monday into Tuesday. More so north of the GTA through Owen Sound and Barrie and even through Parry Sound. Let's take a closer look at that. The lingering showers through Parry Sound, Sault Ste. Marie could see some dusting of snow, 2 to 3 centimeters possible there. And we can't rule out any precipitation in Toronto. They could be seeing some isolated showers there, but by Wednesday, it does clear out. Now let's get into your temperatures. 10 degrees in Toronto, that is seasonal, but Sault Ste. Marie 5. Sudbury 7 there, and as we take a look at your Tuesday, a little cooler. Toronto 8 degrees, 8 for a majority of the board. Orangeville 5, Whitby 9 there. But remember, with that wind gust, it is going to feel even chillier. It's actually going to feel more like 5 degrees in Toronto. Orangeville feeling like 1 there. And as we head into your Wednesday, temperatures still fairly chilly there. 7 degrees in Toronto, 7 in Mississauga as well.
And that's our show for you tonight on Sunday, October 31st. Halloween, I didn't dress up, but feel free to Photoshop whatever pumpkin carving you want into this forehead of mine and share it on social. You can stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. As we go, we leave you with more sights and sounds of trick-or-treating festivities on this spooky Halloween night. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.